download the Raging Elephants Radio app.
Take us wherever you go. Raging Elephants Radio, streaming on your computer, tablet, and smartphone.
Welcome back, Saints and Patriots. Apostle Claver T. Kamau-Imani. Claver, your favorite political flavor. Always giving it to you straight, no chaser. Thank you for joining me today. This program stacked like pancakes, and I am so thrilled to welcome to the program for the very first time. I have to say it properly, man. I'm going to try to get these R's in here. Ricardo Regalado.
That's it. You got it. How you been, Claver?
I'm all right, Ricardo. What's happening, man?
Another day.
Another day working hard, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, Ricardo and I don't know, man. I guess we walked into, you were having cocktails at a bar. I was having cocktails at a bar, and I guess that's where we met, right? We were just kind of like, we were standing there together, sitting there next together, and struck up a conversation, and that's the history. That's it. Yeah.
It was actually, I'll touch on this as we go on, but one of my friends was brand new in town, and I'm trying to show him different areas of Houston. So I said, hey, let's check out City Center. There's a few spots over here. So we're sitting down just having a drink. And I think you walked in a little bit after us, and we just started just hanging out, talking, having drinks, just having a good time.
Yeah, and that's where I want to start with it, because you were new to the city at the time, or your buddy was new to the city at the time.
Yes.
And, well, in the grander scheme of things, you were new to the city. He just happened to be newer than you were. And you came down from the New York area, right?
Yes. So at this point, I had been there, I want to say 4 years or so. But he was brand new. I mean, a few weeks in Houston. So when I came down here and I started talking to my buddies back in New York, and I'm like, hey, you guys got to check this place out, man. Like, it's completely different.
Yeah.
So, me and a lot of people, we grow up thinking everything is the same everywhere, which is completely false. So we wonder, why are these people in New York and California with these outrageous taxes and this high cost of living? A lot of them is because we just don't know what else is out there. Like the old saying, I'm not from Texas, but I got here as soon as I could.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's true. Yeah, once you get here, it's like, man, this is completely different over here.
Yeah, but what got you interested in Texas in the first place? Did you hear something, or did a job bring you here, or a lack of work there? Had you heard this mythical place called Texas? You heard things about Texas? Did you know somebody that was already here? What got you interested first in leaving New York and coming to the Houston area?
Well, I'll have to summarize, because I could tell you this story and it could be 5-6 hours, So I'll give you the summary.
And
so,
I have to put you on the contract, I guess.
Yeah. So the summarized version. So I'm living in New York. I got myself into a financial hole. So I can't put all the blame on New York. It was partly my fault as well. Now the tough part is, once you get into a hole out there, it's extremely difficult to dig yourself out. So I'm in this financial hole, and I started just looking around, playing around online. Where's lower cost of living around the country? I still wasn't thinking Texas at the time. So the part where it gets a little weird is that even though I grew up in New York, I was always a big San Antonio Spurs fan. I was a big-time David Robinson fan.
That is weird, bruh. Especially the Spurs, and especially David Robinson. That is weird, dude.
Yeah. So while everybody was running around with Patrick Ewing jerseys, there was one person in New York City with a David Robinson jersey on. So that was me. So
it's a miracle you survived, bruh.
Yeah. And then the Spurs' first title came against the Knicks. So I couldn't have wrote that better myself. That was great. That was a great time.
Bragging rights.
Yeah.
Now, just real quick, which borough did you come out of?
From the Bronx.
The Bronx. All right.
I grew up in the Bronx. Lived in the Bronx for about 10 years, and my family moved to the suburbs. a little small town in between, probably halfway between New York and Albany.
But now, what's your roots? Are your roots out of the island, out of the PR, the DR?
Yes, I was born in Dominican Republic.
Okay.
We moved to New York City when I was about 3 years old.
Okay. So you were looking around for a place that it wouldn't cost you so much to have a roof over your head.
Exactly. So me and the guys on the weekends, we used to play football. And I got injured one time playing football, and I was out of work for a while. So the first week or so, you're sitting at home, moping around. Hey, I can't do anything. I had broken my collarbone. So I was just at home, miserable, bored. And then a buddy of mine that had moved to Vegas, he said, hey, man, if you're so bored, come to Vegas for a while. So I'm like, I thought about it. I looked for a flight. I'm like, okay. So I went out there for a little while. Now I'm getting the traveling bug, the adventure bug. So me and him are watching the game, we're watching the Spurs game, and now it's starting to get good to me. I'm like, you know what? Hey, let's go to San Antonio, man. Let's go watch a Spurs game. So he's like, hey, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's look for some tickets and let's go watch a game. So we found some tickets online. We got some great seats. We got a good price. We sat pretty much right behind the bench. So this was my first time in Texas. I went to San Antonio. So coming from New York, the first thing that caught me is like, man, it's so freaking hot out here. I was sweating in parts of my body I've never felt sweating before. So I'm sweating like out of my back, and I'm like, man, how do they keep up? How do they deal with this heat?
You got to wear 3 T-shirts, bro. Are you gonna have that back? You're gonna have that back sweat coming through your shirt, man.
Yeah, it was super hot, but all in all, we had a great time. But what I did notice is the prices. Everything was cheap. Everything. I mean, looking around at the housing, food, everything was just extremely cheap. So I was really surprised. So we wrapped up.
You weren't thinking about why it was cheaper. You weren't thinking about how is it cheaper. Only thing you knew was, I'm looking at it with my naked eye, and I don't even have to look hard. It's cheaper down here. Just plain old-fashioned cheaper. Gas, clothes, food, housing. It's just cheaper.
Yeah, I had no idea. I had no explanation for it. Around the time I met you, I knew nothing about politics. I didn't know what a liberal and a conservative is. I had no clue. So when you told me that you run a political news radio, I thought, oh yeah, that's cool. But I had no clue. I knew nothing. I didn't really know. I knew that there were blue and red states, but I didn't know the difference. I didn't know what policies tend to go blue and what's red. I knew nothing.
And you learned a lot since then, but your reaction was you had no idea why, but you could look with your naked eye and see, oh, it's much easier down here. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Fast forward a little bit. You enjoyed San Antonio, enjoyed the food, beautiful people, beautiful ladies. You go back to New York, to the freezing cold.
That was a sad fight.
You go back to gray snow, gray and brown snow that's been on the ground for about a week and a half, right? Double. You have to get to deal with double parking and all of that.
Had to put the layers back on, throw on the T-shirt, the sweater, the coat above all of that. I had to put everything back on.
The beanie, all of that. And, but you're still in the same financial situation. When did you decide to uproot and just say I'm out? First of all, was that San Antonio trip what convinced you? Hey, I'm getting out of New York. I'm going to Texas. Did you get a chance to see a little bit more of the state before you made that definitive decision? Or when you got back, it was just something that continuously was in your mind?
Well, it was already on my mind. It just wasn't Texas. It was somewhere, but I hadn't located a place yet. So I had, when you sometimes make a decision, maybe even subconsciously, I could say. So even before I knew I was leaving, I was leaving. So I just wasn't sure where yet. And as the years have gone by, I've become just more adventurous, more willing to take a chance. So at that point, I didn't have that personality yet. So it was still a little tough to just pick up and leave. So I had posted something on my Facebook, and I put something like, "Hey, Texas is awesome. I would love to live down here," something along those lines. Then it turns out I had a friend that was getting ready to move to Houston in 2 months, I believe. Had some family in Houston and was coming down here, and we got in touch. And at that point, my friend offered to, give me some housing until I get on my feet, and so on and so on. So at this point, it was almost like I was searching for some reason not to go, but there was nothing, So I'm looking online again. I'm like, okay, Texas seems great, but where's the catch? If it's cheaper here, it has to be more expensive somewhere else. So I started Googling, like, well, what about utilities? Maybe that's where they get you. But on average, no, utilities are cheaper. Everything was telling me, like, hey, there's no excuse. If you want to better yourself, you got to make this move. So I thought about it for a few weeks, and then I just decided to go for it. I had about $500, and at $500, I bought a one-way ticket to Houston, and I just did it. So when I got on the flight, I'm sitting on the plane, and I start getting a little nervous, a little bit. And I'm like, man, what am I doing? This is crazy. This is wild. And then the plane started moving, and I'm like, oh, well, it's done. It started moving. It started moving and lifted off a little bit. And I'm like, what's done is done. This is it. I just got to deal with it now. And I got to Houston, and I found work in about 2 weeks, I want to say, 2 or 3 weeks. And then when I got that first paycheck, I was shocked. I was shocked because there was only 3 deductions. and I was,
wait a minute. There's only 3 deductions. Where's the other 3, 4, 5?
Yeah. And now that I've been learning more about politics, even 3 is too much. But at that time.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Yeah. So now I know that that's way too much. But at that time, I was like, wow, this place is great. So there was 3 deductions.
But that's no joke, though. You're not the only one that I've spoken to that have come from other places, and they're like, this can't be true. This is no way, right? And we're sitting here in Texas. All of us who are multi-generational Texans, and we're like, this place, it's awful. I mean, we're not saying it's awful, but it could be better, right?
It could be better, yes.
We're not satisfied. But when you come from a place like a New York, a New Jersey, a Philadelphia, a Chicago, a California, a Massachusetts, it feels like a noose has been taken off your neck, man. It feels like the shackles have been dropped off. And we're down here going, what are you talking about?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was at least maybe like 6 deductions up north in the Northeast. I had actually tried, I missed one part of the story. Before I came to Texas, I tried Providence, Rhode Island, where it was a little bit cheaper, but not much to really make a huge difference. So I went from New York to Rhode Island, and then back to New York for a little while, and then Texas. So I was already looking to escape the high cost of living and the insane taxes. And remember, this is before I knew about politics. I didn't know anything about none of that stuff. I just knew that I wasn't making enough. So when I started the job here in Houston, so remember, I only had about $500, less now because you spend a little bit as time goes on. But I'm trying to calculate how much my first check is going to be. So I'm thinking like, okay, I worked X amount of hours. This is my hourly rate. So after taxes is going to be about this. But it was way more than what I thought. It was a lot more because it was less deductions. So I was shocked. I'm like, man, I can't believe this. So
I'm in the promised land, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
I'm in the land of milk and honey. I crossed the Sabine River, and I didn't just like crossing the Jordan, for crying out loud.
Yeah, and then this is I moved down mid-November, so I just made 8 years now. So this is mid-November, so now we're getting into December, January, and I'm outside, like, playing basketball, short sleeves, and this is January, February, so I'm like calling my friends. I'm like, man, you guys got to check this place out. Like, it's just totally different.
That's where I wanted to take it next, because you weren't selfish about it. you were like, all y'all need to come down here. And I know of one friend that did. You told your family, you told your friends. I know at least one that came down, maybe even more since then. But you became almost like a Texas evangelist, man. You were like, y'all need to get down, right?
Yeah, I call myself the Texas pioneer.
Oh, Scott, for some reason, Skype went down. I got to get him back. Oh, no. Oh, that stinks. Wait a minute. Let's go to a break, and I will try to get Ricardo back. See what I can do. I don't know what's happening with the computer today. Crashed a couple of times. That stinks. See if I can get him back.
The world's largest newsstand is now at the touch of your fingertips with Zinio. Zinio delivers thousands of magazines from all over the world to your iPhone, iPad, or PC in an instant. With high-quality graphics and an easy-to-use, exciting interface, scrolling through your favorite magazines becomes pure enjoyment. With Zinio, you can share articles with your friends or post to Facebook. Zinio is where the digital world meets the real world.
Visit Zinio Digital Magazines through the RER Marketplace.
Hey, Barry the Music Man here for Tejas Smoke Depot. They have everything you need when it comes to smoke. Check out the 150 square foot walk-in humidor filled with a huge selection of fine cigars. Or give them a call at 830-990-1472 and order up what you want. Maybe you like to roll your own. They have it. Maybe you need a gift for a smoker in the family. How about a new pipe?
All right, let's cut that short. I got, for some reason, Skype crashed. I don't know what's going on, but Skype crashed. Sorry about that interruption, guys. Let's get this last few important, entertaining minutes with Ricardo Regalado. Okay, so you became the Texas pioneer, is where we left off. And, Ricardo, and so you began telling all your friends, and they responded. They didn't ignore you.
Yeah, I don't know if, where we got cut off, but I was saying that I would a joke that I always did is that when they got a huge blizzard up there, I will make sure that I go somewhere and get me a nice cold margarita, find the nearest palm tree. I will sit right under the palm tree and take a picture or a video and make sure they send it to them. So
that's not right, bro. That is not right, bro. You be rubbing it in, bro, and they be up there freezing their cookies off.
Yeah, and then that snow is a lot more burdensome than we know out here. First, you gotta dig your car out. So
I know. I think I told you, man. I lived in D.C. for about 12 years. Oh, I know. Yeah. I know, man. You got to scrape the ice off. And don't let the snowplow come through. I mean, you take your car out, man. The snowplow comes through, and now you got another 2 hours of work.
Yeah, it's over. So I would wait till I get a big blizzard, and I will send them a nice. I'll make sure I'm in a t-shirt, so I'm comfortable, nice and warm. Make sure it's nice and sunny, palm trees. So between my rubbing it in and just it's just basic logic. I mean, it's if you're struggling up there, and you have an opportunity to come somewhere where you can progress financially, you can get out of the hole, and you got all the side benefits. You got good weather, you got tons of women. I mean, everything you could look for is here.
That's the most important thing.
Definitely.
For a young brother coming down, you have to be a talent scout. I mean, definitely. So. One of my friends, he came down, and what I would do is I would say, hey, you can stay with me until you get on your feet. And I mean, people are landing jobs, like in a week. I think the record is one of my buddies landed a job in like 2 days. So he set up an interview at the airport on his way down here, was working in about 2 days. So it's just a great opportunity. Have you lost count how many have come down so far? Or?
I think I'm at 5 now.
Wow. Any family or all of them just friends?
No family, no. I got some family considering it, but they have certain things that are maybe tying down up there.
Right.
But considering. But later on is when I learned the reason why. So I don't know if you remember when I called you one day and I said, hey, bro, I'm a conservative now. Like now I see the reason. Now, I sat down one day and I told myself, I'm going to learn this political stuff. Let me see if it's really as important as it seems. Because I was one of those people, I'm not going to vote. Everything's the same anyway, but the transition from blue to red kind of opened my eyes. So now I'm like, let me see, what's the purpose behind this? Now I understand. You can't tax your citizens and expect success. You can't overtax them. And then as I go into even reading the history of the country, all the stuff that they're supposed to teach us in school, they don't teach us the purpose or the cause and effect of things. So these crazy, ridiculous taxes in New York, you got to be rich to live out there. I mean, you have to. Either that or you got to have.
I shared statistics that the poverty line is $100,000 a year, and New York isn't the only one. The poverty line is literally $100,000 a year. You got to be making over $100,000 to keep your nose above water. I mean, it's absolutely absurd. I mean, and they talk about income inequality. Well, the creation of the income inequality is government overreach, sticking its nose where it shouldn't be and sticking its hands deeper and deeper into the citizens' pockets.
Definitely. And then the other big problem is that, when some of your friends, your family find out that you went conservative, then it's like, what are you doing? You're Hispanic. You're supposed to vote for Democrats, people that care about the poor. And I'm like, that's not true. That's 100% false. Like, they have found a way to, this party went from physical slavery to mental slavery. And I can see it clearly, but you just can't, it's hard to get somebody else to see that. So what they're doing is that they're saying, hey, we care about minorities. We're here for you. And then they get the vote, and all they do is pass policies that hurts everybody. So I've been working on that. I've been working on trying to, no matter how much people don't like it, to just keep on spreading facts. The truth is the truth. Like, you can't change that. I like how Ben Shapiro says facts don't care about your feelings. That's it right there. People are voting with their feelings and their emotion.
I want to get deeper into that in the next. I already told people that this is not going to be the first and last time that you're on, and they're finding out right now. But one of the things that we've always been worried about is that as people in-migrate into Texas, 1,500 people basically move here every day, that they would continue out of habit, habitually voting for those whose policies chased them here in the first place. And for you, it seems like before you got here, you saw the difference and it opened your eyes. Do you think that's the same story for many people who moved to Texas? It's like, look, I've been voting Democrat since I was able to vote. That's all I've ever known. Something that I say, if you're here in the United States, if you're black, you're supposed to be Democrat. And if you're not Democrat, then you ain't black. That's sort of the narrative. That's the mindset. That's the way it's been etched in stone in the black community and in the United States electorate. But you saw the difference. You began thinking about why was there a difference between a New York and a Texas, the difference between an NYC and an H-town. Do you think that others who in-migrate see the same thing, that their eyes are opened? Or do you find that the pattern, even when they move into Texas, the pattern still is difficult for them to break? Even when they see physically with the difference, when they see it in their bank account, in their bank statement, in their quality of life, they can't connect the dots. Is that a reality?
I think most people migrating from New York and California are not seeing it the way I see it. We have a problem here because they're coming from blue states and trying to turn it blue, as we have seen here in Houston. You got the whole Harris County going blue. There's no way was Beta whatever, should they have come that close to winning a statewide election? So what they're doing is they're coming down and they're saying, well, I can't make it here. I'm not making enough. And then they're coming to where it's right, or at least closer to right, but voting the same way. So we're going to have a problem here. I sometimes jokingly say that like, hey, we should build a wall, but we should build it around Texas. But I'm only halfway joking though.
Some of us aren't joking about that. Some of us call that independence, Texas independence. Some of us call that Texas independence. That's a wall. You don't have to build nothing. Hey.
Yeah. So I've been very vocal on my personal Facebook page. I ridicule liberals, even if it's people I love, family, friends. I have to ridicule their ideas because not so much that I'm going to convince them, but all the audience. On social media, you got a lot of people watching, people you don't even know, people paying attention. So I'm hoping that I can have an impact that way. Maybe people that don't know and haven't chosen a side yet. When I say things like, hey, these people think that there's 85 genders. Ha ha ha. So I may not be able to convince, but
it's true. It's true.
Yeah. So the little 18, 19-year-old kid that's still learning life, they'll think, oh yeah, that is pretty stupid. Why would I support this party? So I'm trying to do my part that way. It's a very illogical party.
It is indeed. Hey, man, I'm completely out of town, Ricardo, man. Thanks a lot. I got to have you back soon. There's so much more for us to talk about.
All right.
That was totally entertaining, man. I knew it would be. And your experiences, your life experiences are the most valuable. We can learn so much from it. I mean, think about it, Saints and Patriots. Grew up his entire life in the NYC, in the Bronx. Comes down for a San Antonio Spurs basketball game, of all things. He was blind, and the Spurs made him see.
Yeah. Quick side note. I was very upset to find out that Greg Popovich is a liberal, but hey, I'm just gonna have to get past that. But thanks for having me, and we'll do it again sometime.
Do it real soon, Ricardo. Thanks a lot, my man. Stay blessed.
All right. Take care.
Ricardo Regalado. His claim to fame: he's just a good brother. Out of the NYC. Ricardo Regalado, out of the Bronx. But now out of H-Town, and a proud Texan. That is such a feel-good story. It is such a feel-good story. A great place to end today's program. You guys stick around. The amazing Doc Green is up next. I'm Apostle Claver T. Kamau-Imani, the Christian politician, your ultra-conservative soul brother. My enemies, under the pink dome, call me the Purifier. From Ricardo's new home, Houston, Texas, may the Lord Jesus bless you. May the Lord Jesus bless the future, independent, sovereign Republic of Texas. Take that, New York.